Okay.
We're not getting it.
Welcome to today's Government Affairs Committee meeting for November 5th. Thank you so much for joining us, especially I think maybe I'm a little fatigued from the election this week and anxiously just watching what's going on in our country. So thank you all for being here today and talking about what's happening right here in our backyard. So I'm happy to welcome several of our speakers today. We have several speakers and we're going to kick it off right away with our Sheriff's Department update from Captain Justin White. So with that, I'm gonna give you just 1 second. I'm gonna just pull up his PowerPoint and share my screen. And just due to tech related things, he's gonna just have me advance those slides. So just one moment. Let me let's see. Sorry. Share my screen here. Okay. Let's go. Take it away, Captain White.
All right. Well, thanks for giving me the time to present to the committee. This is an update for the law enforcement city of Vista for the year 2020. I do apologize for the technical issues that we're having, but our department doesn't allow us to use Zoom through the app, so we have to do it through the internet, and I can't share my screen that way. So you can go ahead and advance it to the next screen. And these are just some stats, general stats that I think everyone is curious about, because we get a lot of questions about these over last year. And if you see, we've handled about a little over 26,000 calls for service this year. And we have, if you look at our crime rate, it's currently 15.9, which is very low for Vista. And I'll talk about that a little bit later also. But for comparison reasons, you know, San Marcos is at a 12 and Oceanside is at a 22. You can see that we have our sworn officers per 1,000 population is 0.9. Here at Vista, we currently have about 93 deputies. That does not include myself and the 2 lieutenants. And the average regionally per cap for the population is 1.28, so Vista is below that, and nationally it's 2.8, so we're well below that here in the region. So we're getting pretty good service, I think, as far as the number of deputies we have per population. For comparison, San Marcos is at 0.82 and Oceanside is 1.22, so they're closer to the regional average. If you look at the per capita, we're at 215, which I think is within range in the county. You know, San Marcos is at 197, Encinitas is at 233, Oceanside is at 311, Carlsbad is at 309. So we're doing pretty good at 215, I think. If you could go ahead and scroll up to the next screen. Okay, here you can see the crime rates over the last 25 years since 95. And I know the crime rate is really low statistically this year, but I would caution that this is most likely as part of the result of COVID-19 and the state and county orders enacted as a result of that COVID. We do expect the crime rates to go up as people are allowed to go back to work and school and home and those kind of things, because a lot of the crimes that we would normally see when people are in transition, we're not seeing those. But having said that, over the last several years, Vista has seen a consistent decline in crime rates. And I wish the Sheriff's Department could take all the credit for that, but it's really been a team effort between the Sheriff's Department and the city of Vista. The city council and staff have implemented several programs and made improvements throughout the city, which, you know, really has contributed greatly to the reduction in crime. And I'm sure the Chamber of Commerce has been a partner in all of that too. These improvements have assisted our patrol deputies and our community-oriented policing unit to address crimes that impact the residents of Vista. And some of these programs include, you know, our homeless strategic plan, which encompasses our homeless task force and housing resources for the homeless. You know, our cops team works with Public Works and other community entities to assist those suffering from homelessness by providing different resources. And that includes us giving them rides to the DMV if they need a driver's license, or helping them get information about shelters where they can go. We also are working with Exodus Health and Human Services to get them counseling if they need it. The city actually recently has hired a counselor to work with our COPS team to go out with them when they're making these contacts to with the homeless. So that's something we're looking forward to. As far as litter goes, deputies find trash and stuff left over from, homeless encampments or when people are staying in different places. And we do have the ability to call Public Works, who comes out, pretty quickly and gathers up those items. Other things that we do is we assist ABC, or Alcohol, Beverage, and Control, by conducting inspections and details to address overservice and selling alcohol to minors. City licensing will often help us in these types of cases. The city's crime-free multi-housing and graffiti abatement has been instrumental in reducing the crime within the city and improve the quality of life for the residents here. We use that as a great instrument to make sure that people feel safe where they live, especially in our apartment complexes and highly dense population areas. We also target tobacco use by minors, and we include vaping in this. We target this through education, inspections, and details that we use to target those that are illegally selling the products to minors. We also monitor the marijuana dispensaries and address illegal dispensaries with the help of the city code enforcement, licensing, and public works. We also monitor the mobile deliveries in the area and make sure that they're in compliance with local ordinances. So, this current crime rate that we have, and I would speak to the last several years, is a collaboration between the city government and the sheriff's department working together to improve Vista's quality of life. So, you can go to the next slide. So, as low as our crime rate is, and as well as I think we're doing in law enforcement and with the city, there are some areas of concern. And one of those is domestic violence. So domestic violence accounts for about 45% of our assault cases here in Vista. Some of the things that we're doing to target this issue is we're posting information and resources for victims on our social media pages. The city has added links on their website to domestic violence educational videos and other resources available to them. Obviously, when deputies go out and contact victims of domestic violence, they provide resources to that person. And this includes counseling resources, shelter information, and information about their rights and legal resources. So we also are looking to provide domestic violence classes through community groups. And some of these groups, such as Mano a Mano and the San Diego County Office of Education Migrant Education Program, is where we're trying to reach out to get these classes started. We think this would help us educate those that are new to the United States on our domestic violence laws and how they differ from the countries that they may have come from. Next slide. Our other concern is vehicle thefts. As you can see by the chart, since April, we've seen a large increase in vehicle thefts. And a lot of those, if you look at those hotspots, are up in northern part of Vista. The top cars stolen are Honda Civics and Accords, usually those that were from the 90s, and because they make up almost 40% of the cars stolen this year. Wow. We've conducted operations targeting stolen vehicles, and we've made several arrests over the last several months, but due to the COVID guidelines and reduced bail, most of these suspects or people that we've arrested or identify during our investigations, they're quickly released and go back and steal more vehicles. We have several examples of individuals who've stolen 4 plus or 5 or up to 10 vehicles in North County and have yet to be charged by the district attorney's office or go to trial because of the delay that we have through the courts right now. One of the things we're trying to do is the staff here at the Sheriff's Department, we're starting to work on a public service announcement that we hope to put out on social media to help educate the public on things that they can do to make their vehicle less likely to be targeted. A lot of the vehicles that we've been actually recovering are in the southern part of Vista, but most of the ones being stolen are up in northern part. Okay, next slide. So we're developing our community outreach and trying to improve on how we use social media, such as Twitter and Instagram, even Nextdoor, to connect with the community here in Vista. We're involved in several community programs. Most of these are in partnership with the city of Vista, and some of these programs are things like the Junior Deputy Program, Leadership Academy, Summerfest, deputy readings where they read to children both personally, or both in person and virtually. These programs have taken a hit because of COVID, so we haven't been able to participate in them this year, but we're hoping that once some of the once this starts passing, hopefully we'll get back into the swing of things as far as those are concerned. Our crime prevention unit does conduct neighborhood watch meetings and works with community groups such as the Vista Community Clinic and the South Vista Communities Group. These have slowed down because of COVID, but we have been in touch with some of these groups just to touch base and keep open the lines of communication with them. And we do often get requests from citizens that want to meet with us either by themselves or with their neighbors to discuss issues that they have in their neighborhood. So we do that. We are involved in regular meetings with community groups such as the Farm Workers Care Coalition. Either I or one of the lieutenants attend that meeting. And in August, I did meet with the North County NAACP to continue communications and discuss concerns within the community. And our department continues to meet with and communicate with groups such that are willing to do so, because not all of them are. But here in Vista, we work with like the Tri-City Islamic Center and North County Racial Justice Coalition. In closing, it's been a challenging year with COVID and the changes we've had to make as a result of that. But I feel that the partnerships that we have with the city and the different community groups, we've been able to rise to the challenge and provide quality law enforcement services to the community of Vista. And having said that, if you have some questions for me, I'd be willing or more than happy to answer them. Or
Go
not.
ahead, Gary.
Yes, Captain. What is the latest on illegal marijuana dispensaries? Have we had a lot of issues with those, and have we had a lot of issues with underage use of marijuana or problems with marijuana in schools more so than when we open the dispensaries?
Well, we haven't had an issue with the schools because the kids aren't in school this year. Since I've been here and I got here late March, early April, we haven't had an issue with illegal dispensaries because our community, our cops unit, and we're working with the city, have been able to remove or have removed the illegal dispensaries that were popping up here in the city. Because I know the couple years prior to that, they were popping up in different locations, and they were struggling to get them to stop servicing people and selling marijuana illegally. So the cops unit with the city came up with a plan and started implementing that. And we have not had an issue with that since I've been here. Now we continue to monitor that because, they can pop up pretty quickly. They jump into a building and start selling it really quick. And the fines that they receive when we initially go out there and or from the county and or the city are not significant enough to stop them from selling the marijuana. So that's one of the challenges that we often encounter. But since I've been here, we've not had that problem. As far as issues with the ones that are here and selling, our cops unit and the deputy that handles that his name's Deputy Roth, they've been very cooperative with us since I've been here. And Deputy Roth keeps open communication with them. They provide him with the information that he needs to monitor, what they're doing. That's not to say that they're not doing something wrong and we just don't know it. But as far as we can tell right now, everything's running smoothly, and we haven't had any crime issues that law enforcement would be getting involved in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for Captain White? I want to say thank you for coming and sharing this information with us. It's great to connect with you and to get an update on the department and what's been going on. I do want to mention that the Chamber, we're happy to help share your content with regard to connecting with the community when you have events or things that you'd like to share. So make sure and let me know when you have that going on. We're happy to help get the word out. And so if there are any other questions, I'll pause for a moment to see, and let me check the chat to make sure. I have to check all the technology. I don't see any questions in the chat. So thank you so much for being here. You're welcome to stick around for the rest of the meeting. Or if you're busy and you have other things to do, I understand if you have to go, but I appreciate you being here, and you're welcome to join us anytime. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Next up on our agenda is Katie Scanlan from SDG&E. And let's see here, Katie, I think you're going to be able to do your own thing here. So let me just make you host. There you go. So that you can share your screen. And Katie's going to give us an update on the wildfire mitigation program accomplishments.
Second here.
Yeah, no worries. There we go. Woohoo.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you to the Chamber for allowing us to highlight some of our wildfire safety accomplishments for 2020. We have an extensive program, and we're really trying to continue to find new innovative ways to reduce risk and keep our communities safe. And so just want to take the opportunity to highlight some of our recent advancements just this year that we had implemented from lessons learned from 2019. This is a summary of all the 55 programs that were implemented as part of our 2020 wildfire mitigation program. I do not have time to go into each of these obviously today, so I'm going to highlight just a few of them in the 10-15 minutes that Rachel allowed me. So if you look at this, it's very comprehensive. There's a lot of things that focus on technology enhancements to improve situational awareness and forecasting. There's some vegetation management pieces that I'm going to highlight towards the end of the presentation. But I just wanted to include this to show just how robust and the level of science that goes into how we advocate for the different types of things that we want to include for wildfire mitigation and to reduce risk when we file this with our regulator at the California Public Utilities Commission. So just to give a high flyover of what our service territory looks like, we serve South Orange County all the way down to the border. And what you're seeing on the map here is our high fire threat districts. So tier 3 being the most at risk, tier 2 having heightened risk. And then these areas along the coast here doesn't mean that they don't have any wildfire risk. I think we have seen in the past, we've had fires in Carlsbad with a poinsettia fire in 2014. We had the Lilac fire, which came into the Vista area a couple years ago. So you're by no means exempt from the risk, but this is a map that's given to us at the state level to kind of let us know the areas that we should really be focusing on when it comes to our infrastructure. So some of the high flyover stats are we have about 3,500 overhead miles of lines that exist in either these tier 2, tier 3 areas. We have 64% of our service territory is in a high fire threat district. With about 206,000 customers live within these colored areas here. We have 220 weather stations that help us give really interesting details about the different microclimates within these areas. It's very diverse. We have coastal, inland, mountain, and desert all within a small area of our service territory. So it's really important to know the weather patterns within every nook and cranny of our service territory. 61% of all of our infrastructure for power lines is underground, which is significantly higher percentage than utilities across the nation, and that is increasing year after year. And then we also maintain a system of over 450,000 trees that either reside underneath, around, near our power lines to make sure that we maintain proper clearances to reduce wildfire risk in the event that there's a palm frond that was to blow into our lines or something of that nature that might cause an ignition. So I want to give a high flyover on public safety power shutoffs. This is not something that Vista historically has been really impacted by, but it is something that has been leveraged in more of the eastern parts of our service territory. And it really is a last resort measure to reduce wildfire risk, where we will proactively shut off the power in a region if we know a severe weather event is coming. So we have 5 full-time meteorologists that work at SDG&E, and their primary role is to mitigate weather risk as it relates to our system and how we operate the grid. So I mentioned we have 220 weather stations across our service territory that have been installed over time and have been gathering data for 10 years now. So they have a supercomputing technology that can do weather forecasting for us to determine when we're going to have those days that have the most fire risk. This is information that we share every day with our local first responders, so they can help with their staffing as well. And it really is a partnership effort with a bunch of different agencies. So we get hints of it 7 to 10 days in advance. We continue monitoring it 3 to 6 days ahead. If it still looks like we are going to have a weather event, then we start to look at mobilizing communications and letting local governments know that we might have to initiate a public safety power shutoff. 2 days ahead, between the 2 to 3 day mark, that's when we start notifying customers that we think will be maybe impacted by this. As we get closer, there's 2 days, 1 day before, as the forecast materializes. In some instances, we find that it improves and we don't have to do the public safety power shutoff. In other instances, we still end up having to move forward and deactivate power the day of. So there's a lot of communication that happens with customers, agencies, local governments during every step of this process. And then when it comes to restoring the power, once the weather conditions have improved, we have to inspect every single line to make sure things have not flown into the power lines, because if we turn something on and there is a palm frond or something in there, that could cause an ignition. And make sure everything is safe and good to go before we can safely restore power. So that is kind of the overall experience of what you can expect in the event we were to have to do this in Vista in the future. And there is a new app that we actually delivered or launched this year that really centralizes all the different types of information that you would want to know in this instance. So if you happen to have family members that live in different parts of the county, you can add, the idea is to get information of different addresses that might be impacted by a public safety power shutoff. So you can add your grandparents or parents or whoever else, your loved ones that live in the region, and it will proactively notify you once we started the process that I just walked you through. And then as you go through, it will say if the weather has improved or not, and tell you to activate your emergency safety plan if you are going to be without power for a certain amount of time. So it really centralizes all the different tools that we kind of had in different areas and put it into one hub. So if you download it and put all the information in there and then activate the alerts, it can just let you know once this has happened at one of those addresses. So this stemmed out of a customer improvement area that we wanted to really centralize a lot of the great information that we had in different areas. This summarizes some of the more, it kind of summarizes infrastructure improvements that have been made over the last year and what it has really done to reduce impacts to customers. So one of the most impactful stats that I'm going to highlight on this slide that has a lot of information on is if we were to have the exact same weather conditions in 2019 this year and 2020, we would have had 30% less customers impacted by a public safety power shutoff due to various improvements that we have made. Some of them with strategic undergrounding efforts to underground some lines out in our eastern parts of our service territory. One of the areas too is sectionalizing. So to give an example, we might have a circuit that serves 1,500 customers, and we have seen from our weather data that there's only a piece of it that we see winds that consistently accelerate down a hill and into a valley. So of that 1,500, maybe there's only 200 homes that we are concerned about and may have to shut off power for safety. We're installing devices that are actually breaking up those circuits, so you don't have to turn off all 1,500. It's really just the 200 that live in that area that have that are experiencing the higher winds. So it's allowing us to be more surgical in our approach as we're looking at these different areas with more severe weather events. There are some microgrids that are being installed as well out in some of the more eastern parts of our service territory that might be live in like more of a desert community where they're not necessarily have a lot of high fire risk, but there may be some significant transmission lines that are coming through that area that are serving communities around them. So it allows us to keep that community powered while reducing the risk of ignition around them. At a high flyover, those are some of the improvements from more of an infrastructure perspective that we have made just in this last year. And these are some of the tools that we have been used and have been able to leverage with local fire departments and first responders. We have a robust set of rooftop cameras that have been launched over the years to triangulate fires as they pop up and ignite. And so I took these screenshots earlier this morning. Actually, this was a rooftop camera that was overlooking the Vista area, and you're able to zoom in. They have 50 miles that you can zoom in. So this triangle that you see is everything that camera can see and zoom into, which is a really powerful tool. We launched this program in partnership with UCSD. CAL FIRE has access to move these cameras around in addition to us. So it can really help get a bird's eye view at what's going on if a fire were to start in the area. And then this down here is a weather station that we have at the 220 that's based in Vista. And so what you can see here is this trend line is our AI forecasting that had been predicted for the day. And when I took this at 9 o'clock, this was the actual measurements that it was getting or reads that it was getting from that weather station. So there's not a lot of wind in this area. It gives you stats on like the highest wind it's ever measured, which was 26 miles per hour in this highest quartile up here. So not a really windy area. This does not, but just some ideas and some tools and some information that is made publicly available. So if folks want to take a look there, they are more than welcome to. More in the situational awareness space, this is something that we continue to spend a lot of time leveraging partnerships with different universities and academia to figure out how we can continue leveraging technology to improve how our situational awareness as a whole. I mentioned the weather stations. They have been collecting 10-minute reads for the past 10 years, and we are now collecting 30-second reads to get a heightened awareness of what's going on in every area of our service territory. And then the AI-based forecasting system down here is new, and so we're using 10 years of data to AI technology to improve the forecasting even better as we move forward. So that's kind of the future, and as we continue to do new iterations of different wildfire mitigation programs, I think we're going to continue to see more enhancements and development in the AI space. And then improved wildfire modeling continues to get better and better each year. So we had the lilac fire a couple years ago up in this area, and this is what we call internally match drop technology. So if someone were to stand there and drop a match with the existing weather conditions, what would the fire do? Where would it move? How fast? And this information is shared with first responders in the fire department so they can figure out how to stage their crews, better prioritize on evacuations, and it's just another tool in their toolkit to help figure out how to best respond in that situation. And then I did have a two-minute portion of a 10-minute video that I was going to show, but I want to be respectful of time, Rachel. So if you prefer for me to put that in the chat, I can do that.
Okay, I think we're okay, and I think this is good information for everybody. So if you're able to make it work in the tech way, then let's take a look. Otherwise, if it doesn't work, then we can put it in the chat.
All right, so let me just minimize this. This was a video that we had built to kind of bring to life a lot of the things that I'm talking about today, just for the enhancements for 2020. Back in 2019, we actually did a documentary, which is not something that's traditional for a utility to do, that really shows the evolution of efforts in this space back since 2007. It includes, partnerships with fire chiefs, and Supervisor Desmond was actually in it as well. And so it just goes to show kind of the power of what partnership can do to really keep the community safe as a whole. So I'm just gonna, let me know if you can hear this. I didn't test this in advance, so.
I'm not getting any sound.
You're not getting any sound?
No.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can.
And I would say, Katie, too, if you can get it, that's great. But also please do link it in the chat, because I think people should see the whole video. It's a good one.
Okay. Let me try just going to full screen on this, and then if not, just I won't be able to see you, so just shout out if you can or can't hear it.
Okay.
I'm on Zoom. Can I call you back? Is everything okay?
Yeah, still no sound.
Okay.
All right.
I'll just put it in the link then.
Sounds good. Thank you, Katie.
Sorry about that.
No, and thank you so much for joining us today and giving us this overview. Definitely so much good information here, and definitely worth a deeper dive in the future. So hopefully we can get you back to dig a little bit deeper. So many amazing tech tools that I think most regular people don't know about what's happening. You hear the headline is, there's a fire, and like, is there a utility connected to it in some way? And there's no real understanding or knowledge from the general public about all of this work that's going into this mitigation effort. So thank you for sharing this today. And I'd love to have you back for a deeper dive sometime.
Awesome. Okay.
Any questions for Katie? Anybody? Go ahead, Gary.
Yes, one question. I would assume that everybody's home use of utilities has gone up as more people stay home. And I would assume that a lot of the commercial has gone down. So what has been the impact overall on the use of gas and electricity during the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, and when you say by impact, are you talking about bill impacts, or are you just talking about global trends that we've seen? Because I mean, you are right, we have seen a global decrease in largely commercial use in some areas. If they were, if most of their workforce is working from home now, then they have been able to save on that. In terms of usage at home, I think that has varied depending on how many people you have in your household. I mean, if you have a full house of kids that are all online and using computers and stuff, then yeah, we have seen some increases in usage there. But it's just me and my husband at home, and we haven't seen a significant usage or increase in usage in our bill specifically. So it just kind of depends on the individual situation. But we have seen definitely some changes overall in how folks have been using based on the changes from the pandemic. So
overall, the use of utilities has not gone up in this area?
Sorry, the use of utilities in which area?
North San Diego or San Diego County.
Oh, I don't have the granular information by that means. I just know the general trends that we've been seeing in either direction in those industries. But if you'd like something more specific, I'd be happy to take that back and see if I can get some information for you.
All right, thank you.
Katie, it seems like a lot of the fires in Northern California were lightning strikes started, whereas a lot of the fires down here are the result of the strong winds in Santa Ana blowing through those areas in that tier 3 section on the map you showed. Is there a greater move to try to get a lot of that electrical put underground in that tier 3? I know it's extremely mountainous and rugged and all that, but is there a move maybe to put a lot more of that underground in that area?
Absolutely. So we do a lot of data behind how we pick which areas are to go underground and at what time. So this year, just as part of our 2020 plan, we had a goal of doing 135 miles of what we call strategic undergrounding. So that is undergrounding in that tier 3 area that I had highlighted earlier. One of them is, some of them are under construction now, and they have been going on through the year. And the goal again, is to get the infrastructure underground to make it safe as possible. So it is expensive to do undergrounding. So that's why we're not able to obviously do it all at once. There's a lot of environmental impact that comes with that as well. So we are doing it in stages, and our next program, Wildfire Mitigation Program, will be filed with the Commission in February. So the team is already analyzing what is the next phase of that and what are the areas that we'll be doing in the next year.
Thank you.
Great info. Thank you so much. Any other questions for Katie?
I have a comment. I just want to thank SDG&E, and we both share a lot of infrastructure out in the public right of way. And as this process evolves and the companies learn more, SDG&E has been really good about sharing proactively information on the public safety power shutoffs, and enabled us to go out and stage generators and keep the power going to various cell sites and remote terminal locations where we have kind of small central offices embedded in the community out there. So anyways, we're getting better and more sophisticated at sharing information, and it's helping both of our customers.
Awesome. Thanks for that, John. Yeah, I think the key is there's always ways you can get better. And so year after year, it's looking at, well, what's the next thing that we can do? So thanks for the comments.
Yeah, hearing about the collaboration in this area is great for the customers and for businesses, everybody involved. So that's great to hear. Thank you so much, Katie. Okay, we'll move on to Kathy Valdez, our city clerk with the city of Vista. Kathy, I gave you co-hostability, so you should be able to share your screen, or if you'd like, I can share your PowerPoint, either way. I would say Kathy's a pro on this. So
I should be a pro on it, but it's always taking me a minute. All right, thanks so much for the opportunity to talk about our boards, commissions, and committees. This is actually great timing because at the beginning of the year, we're going to start our recruitment process. So I just want to take a little bit of time to talk about the process as well as the different commissions that we have. So we have 11 different boards, commissions, and committees. I'll just refer to them as commissions as we go through this. The typical eligibility is that you're a Vista resident, 18 years of age or older, and then some do require some specific skills or knowledge sets. So as I go through them, I'll talk about any variances from what's stated here. In 2018, as you know, we went to district elections, and so we also changed the process for appointing or making recommendations for appointment to the commissions. That allows for each district to identify someone they would like to sit on various commissions. And so with that, again, obviously we have people whose terms end at different times, but we aligned them with the elections. So in early 2019, folks from District 1 and 4 were appointed. And then mid-year, the mayor made her appointments. And then this coming year, so in 2021, we'll have appointments from Districts 2 and 3. We also have some seats on some of our commissions that are assigned to outside agencies, such as the chamber, as well as the school district. Our terms start April 1st and go through March 30th. Most are 4-year terms. Again, I'll note if there's a difference in that. And most of our commissions have 5 members. Again, there's a few variances, which I'll mention as we go through them. We do post unscheduled vacancies as they occur throughout the year. So you might see announcements for that. We'll post them on social media and on our website, and we'll fill those as needed. But we do an annual recruitment process where it gets posted in December, but I'll admit our efforts don't really start until January after the holidays because we don't get a lot of response in December. So keep your eye out for that. Again, in December, we'll post which terms will be ending. And they'll really start to push in January. We anticipate the applications for incumbents will be due on January 29th. And then for new applicants, they'll be February 18th or around there. The frequency of meetings vary. So as we go through them, I'll talk about when each group meets and how often. Some committees do require some additional work. For instance, the Planning Commission obviously has the responsibility to review the agenda reports, plans. They might have an environmental impact report they need to read. So depending on what the item is, it may require quite a bit of time prior to the meeting. Then there's some that have some outside activities, such as the Public Arts Commission. So when our Civic Center gallery is open, they'll help plan events there and participate in those. Many of our commissioners are required to file an annual conflict of interest form, or Form 700. Those are available to the public. So both us and the FPC and others can look at it to determine if someone has a conflict of interest, meaning perhaps a economic interest in a decision they might be making. Doesn't preclude someone from being on a commission. However, they need to recuse themselves from decisions that might impact them financially in particular. And then our planning commissioners also have to do biannual ethics and sexual harassment prevention training. So going over our commissions, we have our Community Development Block Grant Citizens Advisory Committee. This particular committee makes recommendations based on the applications received for funding for public service programs. They help determine what types of programs should be funded based on our 5-year consolidated plan. We have a Community Safety Commission, which is generally attended by our sheriff's captain or lieutenant, as well as staff, and they look at crime trends, what's happening. The Sheriff's Department will report out on activities that they are taking to address those problems, and then also talk about prevention programs as well. So we want to make sure there's some open communication there for those folks. Our Central Vista Business Improvement District, I'm sorry, I should mention the Community Safety Commission. One of those seats is appointed by the Vista Unified School District, so we keep them involved with that. Central Vista Business Improvement District Advisory Board is responsible for providing recommendations for typically funding on the grant programs right now, but basically on how to spend the money that's collected through the levies. So the individuals on that board serve a 1-year term, and they are typically individuals who are business owners subject to the levy. So in this case, they don't necessarily need to be a Vista resident if they own a business in the bid. Our Investment Advisory Committee meets twice a year. And this group is staffed by the city manager, city attorney, a city council member, and then 4 members from the community that have experience in financial investments. They review the investments that are made by the city and making recommendations for changes to policies associated with those with those investments. So the mayor makes the recommendations for all those 4 seats. We also have a mobile home park review board that was established to address concerns or complaints regarding how the mobile home park accord is being implemented. So if a resident has a concern about what a manager is doing and they're not able to settle it outside of the city, the review board can hear the concerns and make recommendations. That is a 3-member board that just meets as necessary. So they hopefully don't meet. Hopefully there are problems, but they're certainly available if they need to address them. The Parks and Recreation Commission meets once a month, and one of the seats on that is also appointed by the Vista Unified School District. Those commissioners are responsible for providing input to the Recreation Department, as well as the city manager and council for park issues. They often will get assigned to a park. They'll go out and kind of check on it every once in a while and report back any concerns or recommendations as well. Our Planning Commission meets twice a month on the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays. So that one, again, requires the most time commitment probably because of the preparation for those meetings. But they provide input to certain development projects that are going in or recommended changes to zoning and that sort of thing. So it's a very sort of coveted position to have. Our Public Arts Commission has a seat that's also recommended for appointment by the Vista Unified School District. They meet once a month and they review all public art projects. So even if it's a mural on a private wall, it still needs to go through this process. And so they'll make recommendations to the council of whether things should be approved to be put up. And then of course, we also have things like the roundabout, Kites Over Vista, and as I mentioned, our gallery as well. So they can be quite busy and it's a very active group. Our Sales Tax Oversight Committee has a seat that's appointed by the Chamber of Commerce. And that group just meets once a year to review our financial audit and the sales tax spending and projections, and to make any recommendations if there's any changes that need to be made. We have a Senior Citizens Affairs Commission that meets every other month. At least 3 of those members need to be 55 or older. And they make recommendations regarding really anything related to senior citizens, but in particular about what's happening at our senior center and what types of activities should be planned and implemented there. And then we have our traffic commission that has 2 seats appointed by outside agencies, one from the chamber and one from the school district. And that group meets typically monthly, and they'll review things like requests for additional stop signs. They'll look at pedestrian safety, sidewalks, and they'll make recommendations to council and certain approvals that they just handle on their own as well. I do want to mention that we also have youth commissioners. So we appoint 2 students to the Community Safety, Parks and Recreation, Planning, and Public Arts Commission. Their terms run July 1st through June 30th. And those are 1-year terms. And then we also have a youth commission that's made up of 11 students. These are all high school students. And they will meet once a month to plan projects. And they also do fundraising for scholarships. Those are half the members, well, sorry, they're all 2-year terms, but half the members rotate out each year. So we typically would recruit for this at the end of the school year. That obviously did not happen last year. So we're doing it now. And we do want to encourage folks. Applications are due on Monday, but we want to give students the opportunity to serve if they would like to. So if you know anybody, please get the word out about that. I should have also mentioned that on our CVBID advisory board, we have a position open. And that deadline is tomorrow, the 6th. So if you're interested in serving, you can submit that to me online. We're very fluid in how we accept applications these days. You can send it electronically. Students often take a picture of it and send it to me. So I have all sorts of interesting formats that we're getting, but we want to make sure that those who are interested have the opportunity to apply. So please keep your eye out for our annual appointment notice. Again, it'll be posted in December, and then we'll do some heavy recruitment in January and February. Here's my contact information. I'm happy to email applications out, but of course they're on our website as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I think it's really timely to have you come visit us this month. One, because the applications will be available soon, but also with our recent election, I think it's important that this is a first step into supporting your local community. And I've been a liaison to a couple of these commissions during my time at the city. It's a really awesome, great group of people always, and a great way to get involved in your community. So if you're interested in this information, definitely reach out to Kathy. I think there's a lot of value in serving in this capacity, and if you do it, you'll be glad you did. So we're happy to share this information as well. And Kathy, we should connect about the youth commission. And well, actually our rising stars are graduating seniors, so they probably aren't interested, but we can talk more about some of the youth things offline. All right, any questions for Kathy before we move on to all of our electeds? Okay, thank you, Kathy. Thanks so much for being here. Nice to see you. Okay, we are going to now move into our governmental updates. And as per usual, I have a request for someone who has a conflict. So I'm going to ask Matthew Pye from Senator Pat Bates' office to kick us off, and then we'll go in order on our agenda after that.
Thank you, Rachel. First of all, I wanted to say I think I had updated the committee last meeting. I just wanted to give you an update on the newer system that the EDD has us submitting cases through. It's definitely been a huge improvement, at least on our side, that we've experienced. The cases that we've been submitting through there have been resolved in a matter of days, which is definitely a lot faster than they were being resolved previously, kind of the way that they were having us do it before. So that's just good news on that side of that we're able to help a lot of folks a lot faster and make sure that they're receiving the benefits that they had earned. So good news on that side. Right now, the legislature is on recess until about the first or second week of December. So right now we're taking legislative ideas, any types of topics or things that you think would be important for the coming legislative session. As you all know, kind of this past year, the legislative package that many members were working on kind of got cut down just due to the pandemic. So I would imagine this coming session, you'll probably see a lot more legislation on the table, hopefully that just deals with a wide variety of issues. Also, besides that, in the past couple of weeks, after each legislative session, we always get scores from different organizations, and just wanted to share with you all Senator Bates' score from the Cal Chamber. She again got their highest rating and highest score for her voting record for protecting small business and supporting policies that are helpful and good for business. So I think it's important as we all come here to these meetings every month. We certainly talk about supporting business, we talk about small business, and I think it's always good to follow up and make sure that that voting record also aligns with that and shows that the candidate and the electeds aren't only talking about that, but that they're also lining up and their vote record shows that. And so once again, Senator Bates' record showed exactly that. So we're very proud of that score and would definitely encourage you all to take a look at that, take a look at where everybody else lined up. And other than that, were there any questions that I can answer? Great. Oh, I think we have.
Go ahead, Gary.
Gary?
Yes, what's the latest on the Department of Motor Vehicles in terms of open and what's happening, and what should we know about renewing our driver's license and so forth, especially as it relates to the special driver's license?
Yeah, I would definitely say keep an eye out and take a look on the DMV's website. We get updates from them constantly about different changes that keep coming our way of how they're doing things, or who doesn't have to go into the DMV or who can renew. So I would definitely take a look if for anybody out there to just take a look at their website, because they do have those updates on there and what changes that they've made so far. So if you have a license expiring this year or in the coming months, and you're kind of on that list, I would definitely take a look and consult their website first, because some of you may not have to go in to renew, and you may also have a renewal for an additional year. So definitely take a look at their website, because again, there's just been so many changes with that in the past few months that in order to get the most accurate information, I would take a look at their website.
Mine was due in December, and I renewed it for a year and got an ID number to verify that it had gone through DMV. Okay.
Yeah, and I would say too, if you are having any challenges or issues with the DMV, let us know. That's also something that we can help with. We've helped a lot of folks with those types of issues. That's usually our highest, the agency we're dealing with the most. Obviously right now it's been EDD, but DMV would definitely be the next one. So if you are having any issues, Gary, let me know. We'd be happy to take a look into it and get you a faster answer than you would waiting on the phone all day.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks for that update. Okay, let's move on to City of Vista, Miss Amanda Lee.
Hi, I promise I'm smiling at all of you. I just can't see it. So thank you for having me here. I just do have a few updates. First, on the agenda on November 10th, we are going to have our normal meeting. It will be virtual. The City Council will be discussing a number of things. One thing of interest is they will be discussing updates to the city's housing element. The housing element is one of the required elements of the general plan, and it addresses the Vista's community profile, existing and projected housing needs, constraints to preservation of housing, and our 8-year housing plan. So we welcome everyone to come and join the City Council to discuss that. Now on to some exciting news. I don't know if you've heard of Q Health. Q Health is headquartered in the Sorrento Valley, and they were recently awarded $481 million. Kevin Ham is actually there today meeting with the CEO. He called and let me know that he is tested negative for COVID. Reason why he said that was because everyone who enters the facility has to take a COVID test. They take a test, and within 20 minutes, it text messages you the results. And they have decided to make their new home in Vista. So they'll be at 2620 Commerce Way, and that will bring 500 new jobs to Vista. So it's very exciting to have this new technology here and to have this corporation here. So we're excited to see them come. Additionally, Amazon will be opening up a new facility here in Vista as well. That will be happening probably the first or second week in January, and that will also be bringing 500 new jobs to Vista. So both of those are very exciting. The Old Mother Earth building and the Flying Pig building, they're both, the Old Mother Earth is in discussions to have a brewery / food business go in there, and Flying Pig, a restaurant. Both of those are in the final stages to open. As we all know, deals do have a possibility of falling through, so it's not final at this particular time, but we are optimistic that they will be opening soon and carry through. Also the Ryland, the Caldwell Banker across the street from the Ryland, this is that 100 Main building. Caldwell Banker has decided to go ahead and move to the Ryland, so one of the commercial businesses will be open there, and the city is currently collaborating with the Ryland to fill the other spaces, and there has been interest in those. Additionally, we are collaborating and partnering with the Chamber on numerous things. Thank you, Rachel. One of them is the, normally we do the Vista business walk. At this year, it will be done digitally. Next Wednesday, the mayor will be making an announcement about the survey. We ask businesses to go ahead and complete a digital survey. After they complete it, they can go ahead and request a meeting with the city and the chamber. It will be Kevin and Rachel, and you can discuss any needs or just do a greet and meet to go ahead and just introduce yourself to the city and see what the city can go ahead or the chamber can do for you. Additionally, there'll be some really fun activities happening with partnership with the chamber. One of them is what we currently have online is Vista Bucks. You can go to our Vista's open website and purchase these Vista Bucks. You can purchase 25 for only $20, and you can, they're great gifts ideas as well, and it just helps to encourage to shop in Vista. And also there's something called a goose chase. Rachel will probably have more to add, but basically this goose chase is going to be a scavenger hunt that's going to be conducted downtown. It's going to be socially distanced, and it'll be a way for people to go ahead and participate in a scavenger hunt and really kind of get people to go downtown, see what's open, and really a fun way to help with getting people to shop Vista. Did you have anything you wanted to add to any of that, Rachel? I'm sure you will.
Are you saying I talk a lot?
What? No, I'm just saying that they're wonderful things, and I know you're enthusiastic about them.
Yeah, no, so I do want to add just a little bit about Goose Chase. It's not just focused on the downtown. It's actually bringing people to all the commercial corridors within the city, and we're working closely with businesses to come up with these various missions, which participants can earn points by going to and completing these missions through the app, showing up at commercial locations. You can get points for doing simple things like taking a selfie in front of their sign. You get bonus points if you make a purchase at the business, and so we're excited about that, and participants can earn badges and points and actual money prizes. So we're excited about that, and with the holidays coming up, I know my family, we're looking for fun things to do. I can't play Pokemon Go anymore, so I'm excited about this app, and I think people will really enjoy it, and our businesses are excited about it too. So, and then the Vista Bucks cards are available. As Amanda mentioned, if you spend $20, you can get a $25 card good at Vista businesses. And so I encourage you, there's still some available. And if you'd like some, hop online and at vistasopen.com and you can purchase those. So thank you. And I know I do. I always have something to add. Sorry. All right. Any questions for Amanda?
Amanda, once again, I missed the name of the business at 2620 Commerce Way. I'm sorry.
Q Health, and that's CUE, and then the word health.
Thank you.
No problem.
And then I did have a question. So with the Caldwell Banker moving from Vista Village Development over to the Ryland, and then also I know the Panera is potentially moving from the Vista Village location to the new development off the 78, the Sun Road development there. I know that the city, obviously there's no announcement yet about who could potentially go into those locations, but obviously that's an area of focus. You know, Vista Village is kind of has been a jewel of downtown. We're working on Santa Fe now. So I think it's important to make sure that we, backfill those uses in some way. So I just, if you have updates on that, maybe next time, that'd be great.
Yes, absolutely. Once we have information, we'll definitely share that with you.
Great. All right. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate you being here. Okay, Crystal from Supervisor Desmond's office. Welcome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Good afternoon, everyone. Very little going on, you know, just minor things. No, we're busy in the office. The focus is still, even though we're in the middle of election season, voting is over, but we're, you know, results are rolling in. So we're watching that, but really the topic of conversation is still COVID. That's where the supervisor's focus is. He's still focused on obviously supporting businesses, making sure that they can safely reopen, with the announcement yesterday that San Diego County is heading back into purple territory, which is the most restrictive tier on the state's color tiers. We will hear more next week. We're watching our numbers very closely. The earliest that we could be moved back into purple would be a week from tomorrow, a week from Friday the 13th. We are hoping that will not take place. And at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, Supervisor Desmond introduced a resolution that would be sent up to the state saying, you know, we started this pandemic with making sure that we were preserving PPE equipment, that we were preserving our hospital space for those needing treatment and not inundating our hospitals. The city of San Diego, the county of San Diego, and actually the entire region has been very successful at doing that. Hospitalizations are very low. The need for ICU treatment is still very low, even with positive cases going up. And we know the more we test, the more positives that are coming up. Of the more than 1,000 San Diego State students who tested positive, I believe it's still correct that there was only one that needed hospitalization, and it was for a very short period of time. So we're seeing cases not being as severe as they were in the beginning of this pandemic. And we want to remind the state of California that we need to take those into consideration as well when we're making decisions on what businesses can stay open and which ones have to close. So that's still a focus for Supervisor Desmond. He is working on a safe reopening plan that he would like to roll out for all of San Diego County. It's very important that these businesses not have to shut down again. So what it means if we go into purple, it means that churches can no longer be indoors, restaurants, bars, breweries, all of that can no longer be indoors, gyms no longer can be indoors, movie theaters, museums, aquariums, card rooms, don't have a lot of card rooms in Vista. Retail has to be scaled back to 25% of occupancy, which going into the holiday season is going to be very difficult for some of these smaller retailers. Schools that are not already open will not be allowed to open. So that could be a problem for a lot of our children. And what we're seeing, and actually I believe the DA, Summer Stephens, had a press conference today talking about the high number of drug overdoses. And of all the drug overdoses taking place in San Diego County, 40% are in North County. And we're seeing a doubling of overdoses since the COVID restrictions have started. So that's alarming. A lot of those people are younger, 19 to 40. So we're concerned about job loss, isolation, people's mental health. I mean, these are all alarming statistics on top of the economic impact. So working on a safe reopening plan is a priority for the supervisor right now, along with many other things that are going on, which, you know, crisis stabilization unit, we're trying to get going in Vista Family Justice Center, in San Marcos. So a lot of that is at the forefront of what needs to be done in North County.
Thank you, Crystal.
And I want to remind everyone that, you know, we appreciate the work that the chamber does. All the information, all the updates, every time we have a potential tier change or something that's significant, I make sure that I share that with each of our chambers so they can pass the information on to the businesses. So it's crucial to stay in contact with your chamber to get a lot of that information.
Thank you. I appreciate that plug. I do have a question about schools. Excuse me. with potentially returning to purple. For example, in Vista Unified, there are a number of schools that are currently quarantined. Mission Vista High School is shut down completely. They had a couple of cases and the school board made the decision to quarantine the whole school, which was more about subs and the lack of staffing than really about cases, as they said at the board meeting. So does that mean that if a school is quarantining temporarily, they would not be able to return if we go to purple? Or is it because the school district has returned in person where those schools can return when they're ready? That's a nuance, but I was wondering if you knew about that.
Yeah, I believe that if they have been approved to reopen, are currently reopened, and are just in a quarantine situation, that will not impact them. They are able to go back once that quarantine is over. I will double check that information. And a lot changes weekly with the state of California. So small nuances like personal services, personal haircuts, nail salons, that kind of stuff, a couple weeks ago got moved as allowed use in the purple tier. So right now, what we're hearing from schools is those that have reopened, even those quarantining, can stay for in-person learning. But I will double check that information.
There's a lot of parents that are curious about that. And I think most of the schools in the Vista Unified School District are slated to open back up prior to that November 13th timeframe. So that would then definitely make it easy and clear. But I know there's been a lot. I have people texting me all the questions all the time. So to tell
I will double check that information and send that out to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
that. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Crystal?
Crystal, KUSI they interviewed some gym owners and some restaurants down in the San Diego County area. And those people are basically, a lot of them are basically saying, we're not going to, if we go to purple, I don't care. We're going to stay open like we are. Is there any discussion amongst the supervisors about businesses and gyms and nail salons that say, we've had it, we're not going to do it anymore?
So what we are being told, and obviously the supervisor, I don't know about his conversations with other supervisors. They have not met recently and probably won't, I don't think they meet again. They have no special meetings slotted till their next meeting on November 16th or 17th. We are hearing the same thing, that people are just absolutely refusing. They're not going to do it. The county will, is what I'm being told, is they will take their normal steps that they are taking currently. So if someone is violating the public health order and it is reported back to the county, it's complaint driven, that they will receive a call or a visit from a county health staff, enforcement, try and rectify whatever is being done. So in this case, if they're doing, let's say it's a restaurant doing inside dining, they would be told that that is not allowed. They would be given time to correct that measure. If it wasn't, what will happen is a cease and desist order will be issued by the county health department under Dr. Wooten. And then it becomes, so let's say it was in the city of Vista, it would be up to the sheriff if they wanted to enforce that cease and desist order. City of San Diego, it would be up to the San Diego Police Department. And then the other potential ramifications of staying open in violation of the state of California's order would be a potential revocation of license, so a liquor license, a cosmetology license. We have not seen or heard of any of that taking place. And really, it's the opinion of Supervisor Desmond. We'd rather have a safe reopening plan and some local control versus the state coming in and mandating that everyone has to shut down.
What about the ones that are possibly going to be suing the state of California, like Disneyland, maybe, I don't know if Legoland's involved in it or not, SeaWorld maybe? What if there's a lawsuit pending on the movement like that? Would that have to wait till the lawsuit's done?
You know, I'm not really sure. There was the lawsuit that was the hearing that was heard by the California Superior Court. I think it was Assembly Member Riley, and I can't remember that sued Governor Newsom over his public health order. They were successful in that lawsuit. The order was issued the end of last week. There was a couple-day period where they have a right to go back in front of the judge, Governor Newsom. And then after that time period's over, then that ruling stands. I'm assuming it will be appealed by Governor Newsom, and move up the chain of command. I know there's a couple other lawsuits that have been filed. I don't think they've been in front of a judge yet. I don't know how those lawsuits impact decisions. I know part of the ruling from the Assembly Member Riley's, part of that order was the governor cannot make any more mandates, but mandates and guidance are different, and I don't understand the nuances. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know where that stands, and I don't know if you're in an appeal period, if they can just kind of ignore that order by the Superior Court of California. I'm not sure.
Thanks, Crystal.
Sure.
All right, Gary.
I'm still a little confused on going from purple to red. Is it the number of cases or is it the percentage of those tested? Because as we increase testing, we're going to get more cases. So I'm a little confused on that.
There's a number of metrics that move you from one tier to another. And there's a very difficult equation that I have not been able to master yet, that it takes a group of us to figure out, where it's the number of tests, issued, the number of positives, the equity testing. So testing in very specific areas gets you bonus points. So let's say we're having outbreaks down in our cities closer to the border. If we have more testing in those areas, we get bonus points. Community outbreaks, which is our biggest problem in San Diego County, number of community outbreaks, which is 3 or more, seems to be hurting us, but really in a county our size, so you look at the county of San Francisco, which you would think is very large, it isn't, it's 800,000 people. So the fact that they've been able to successfully move to lower restrictive tiers versus us who seem to be moving in the rest of Southern California into higher restricted tiers, our populations are huge, and the metrics that they're using in the state of California, we would argue are not fair to a county our size. So a lot of it has to do with positive cases and community outbreaks.
Thank you, Crystal.
Sure.
Okay, let's move on to Assemblymember Tasha Boerner, Horvath's office. Salima, are you there? Are you still on the line?
I am, yes. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, nice to hear your voice. How you doing?
Yeah, of course. I'm doing well. How are you?
Great.
Great. Okay, so I just wanted to, just briefly start off with an EDD update. Luckily, our office's case numbers have gone down significantly, from a few hundred cases to a few dozen cases at the moment. So mostly thanks to our assigned EDD liaison that we've been working with closely. And as Matthew from Senator Bates' office mentioned earlier, we do have the new case referral system that has also helped with getting our caseload down in terms of, how quickly they're able to respond to us. And then with our EDD liaison, our office pushed for more calling time, just because we've found that having these direct conversations with the liaison, since some cases are very complex, having the direct conversation is a lot more helpful than having to wait, 4+ weeks for a response that will most likely result in needing a follow-up. So having these conversations really help open and close these cases within a matter of days. And then since the legislature is still in recess until December, these past few months have really just been focused on outreach and community engagement. So for example, the assembly member has been out, helping out at whatever food distribution, diaper distribution, wherever, safe and appropriate when she can. And then we're still hosting our virtual or our teletown halls, might I say. So we have been having them mostly on a bi-monthly basis. We held 2 in the month of October. So if you haven't tuned in, those are also on our website. We do upload them all if you do want to go back and, hear those. And then because, knowing that we're probably going to stay in this remote environment for some time, the assembly member does want to start doing some more district generated events as well. So for example, you may have heard of the first one that we're planning on doing. It's the Veteran and Military Service Awards. We did send out an invite to submit nominations for that. We are hosting that soon, and it will be virtual, of course, and in a webinar style. So as a district that represents, Camp Pendleton and has a large population of military individuals and families, the member is excited to personally honor these people and their families for their service to their communities and our district as a whole. So thank you if you submitted a nomination. Planning is still underway for that virtual event, but it will be public. And as I said, webinar style. So look out for that invite if you're interested in tuning into that. And then going into the next legislative session, we're still encouraging our local stakeholders and organizations to reach out and, share some ideas and concerns as the member prepares her legislative package. It'll likely be similar to the previous session in focusing a lot on COVID-19 recovery and mitigating its impacts. So we might see some smaller packages again. That's still sort of in the air, but I do know that that is one of the Assembly members' priorities, focusing on COVID-19 recovery. And, as always, we're always looking to speak with our constituents. And as I mentioned, our stakeholders and organizations, just so that we know what's on your mind and what your thoughts are, so the member can utilize that in preparing her package. But yeah, that's my update for today.
Thank you, Salima. Any questions? Okay, not seeing any, so let's hop over to Kyle with Congressman Mike Levin's office. Kyle, how are you today? Nice to see you.
It's good to see you all too. What a week, but good to see you all. Congressman Levin's looking forward to going back to Washington during the lame duck and passing another relief bill for our businesses, families, and local governments. I think I've been a pretty broken record about the bills that have been passed on the House side, but Senator McConnell is saying that he wants to get a bill passed in the lame duck. So we're very hopeful that we'll get something done that can help with PPP, local and state government funding, and others. But also just looking backward at some of the recent work the Congressman has been able to do. In October, he was actually got a bill passed, so signed by the president into law. This is President Trump signed Congressman Levin's bill on vet center counseling expansion. I can go into the specifics of the bill, but my main point in bringing that up is just to remind us all that, there's a lot of things that we all agree on that are bipartisan that get passed and done that you don't hear a lot about, even in the height of the election. So there's good news amongst all of the negativity that we unfortunately are seeing in the news. Other work the Congressman's working on, he introduced a bill that's called the Inspect Act. It was a lesson learned from San Onofre here in our district, where we almost had one of the spent fuel canisters dropped when it was being transferred into the storage holes. And he thought from that experience that it would be helpful to have a Nuclear Regulatory Commission inspector on site during those transfers. Normally there's a NRC inspector on site when a power plant is operating, nuclear power plant is operating. But after San Onofre shut down, the NRC inspectors only came by periodically. They weren't there when they were transferring the fuel. This would require them to be on site at other nuclear power plants when they're doing that transfer. We're all done with the transfer. You didn't see that in the news. It's all set in the ground there at San Onofre, and the Congressman, of course, is going to continue working as hard as he can to get it out of there and move to a permanent federal repository. And the only other thing I'll just mention too is we were able to happily announce a grant to North County Transit District for $9.8 million. And that's going to help modernize train and crossing control systems. Some of these systems literally predate when NCTD took over the tracks from the Atchison and Topeka Railroad. So they're very old. So this will be a big modernization. Congressman Levin fought hard to advocate for NCTD to get that grant. And that's what we're going to keep doing now that it looks like we'll have another 2 years, and we're going to keep trying to bring federal dollars to the district. I'm happy to answer any questions though, but otherwise just good to see y'all.
Thank you, Kyle. Any questions for Levin's office? No. Okay, I'm going to give you just a couple quick updates, and then we'll hear John has an update for us. I wanted to let you know a couple of save the dates for this group. So on January 25th, we will be hosting our State of the Community event. I'm just going to say event. I'm not going to say luncheon or anything else because we're working out the final details, but we do have that date of January 25th. So please mark your calendar. It will most likely be at that kind of lunchtime timeframe as we've had in the past, but obviously not utilizing some sort of virtual platform. So working out the details of that. Also, going backwards in the calendar a little bit, I want you to save the date for our Christmas parade, our 63rd annual Christmas parade. We weren't going to let the COVID Grinch take our parade. So we're turning it around and we're making it a reverse parade in the Sinopolis parking lot. So we'll have folks drive through and check out some amazing displays from our local community organizations and businesses. And we're excited about that. We have some fun surprises. And we're excited that folks can still participate and enjoy this official kickoff to the holidays that we have here in Vista. Also, you know, every month we have a business mixer, and we've been doing them on Zoom. They're pretty fun, but we're really excited about our holiday mixer, and I want to extend an invitation for you all to join us on December 9th. This particular mixer is hosted by EDCO. We have some really cool things happening for it. If you register in advance, we're going to be giving out goodie boxes. We'll deliver that to you, so you have some yummy treats to enjoy during the mixer, as well as some other fun games and prizes planned. So stay tuned to our social media for announcements about that. But we'd love to have you all join us. That is after hours on December 9th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. But definitely State of the Community, I know, is a big one, and we're excited that we will have the mayor speak again, and we have some other speakers that we're finalizing. Can't quite announce them just yet. It should be really interesting and a fun afternoon. So with that, those were my updates from the chamber. John Osborne, did you want to tell us about AB 2421?
I do. Thank you, Rachel. So I've been giving the committee regular updates on this bill, and just to remind everyone that this bill is for backup power generators at cell sites and to streamline the permitting process for getting those in. So the bill, as it worked its way through the legislature, did not encounter a lot of opposition, which was good. Like Kyle, we are happy that it went from start to finish and got to the governor's desk and was signed. So that's going to help us have a more resilient backup power supply for our cell sites and our small cells, but primarily macro cell sites. And within our landline infrastructure, there is a lot of locations where we have kind of mini central offices out in the backcountry to extend the reach of our fiber and services out there to the public. So this will help us get beyond just having battery backups in there and be able to streamline the placement of permanent generators. Can't put them everywhere due to site designs and things. Sometimes these small cells are up on rooftops and in parapets and just won't support a generator. But by and large, we should be able to more easily deploy those generators. So I want to thank the chamber for being part of a coalition of North County chambers who signed on in support of that bill early on and helped it to work its way through the legislative process. So thanks so much.
Thank you for that update. I appreciate it. Anyone else have anything for the good of the order? 6 minutes under, guys. We did it. We did it. All right. Well, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you again next month. Our next meeting is December 3rd. Same time and place.
Thank
you, Rachel.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Rachel. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.